Coming in at number 10, we have Jay-Z. Can you become the king of the rap game without selling your soul to the devil? Well, probably, but people still think that Jay-Z must have made some sort of deal with the devil in order to make it to the top. There's a lot of hints of satanic symbols in his music videos, and people think that he is in the Illuminati. And this could be real. Maybe him and Beyonce are in a league of evil rich people who want to make the world fall apart so they can control it. But in order to think that Jay-Z is in the Illuminati and sold his soul to the devil, you have to believe in the Illuminati and you have to believe in the devil. And if you don't believe in either of those, Jay-Z is just a very successful guy. That's it. Coming in number 9, we have Johann Georg Faust. Now this one's a little bit of a weird one because it's hard to tell if a dude from the 16th century sold his soul to the devil because he actually put a pentagram on the ground, threw some goat's blood on it and did a little dance and sung a little song and then shook hands with the devil, or was it because he was just an astronomer and back then people thought that meant you worked with the devil. But this dude apparently worked with the devil to get his fame. The devil offered him 16 years at the top of the world of science. When his time came, the devil arrived and he renegotiated. He was able to squeeze out another 8 years out of the devil, and at the end of the 8 years he would pass and everyone would say the devil took his soul. Now this is the part of the story that makes it seem like there could have been something to do with the devil going on. When he died, apparently there was an explosion of fire and all that was found was bits and pieces of his body. Now this could have been an experiment gone wrong that took place in Faust's home, but I don't know what kind of explosives an astronomer would be messing around with. People think that this explosion could have been the devil popping in and ripping his soul right from his body. Maybe he shouldn't have made this deal. Who knows? Coming in number 8, we have Tom Hanks. No way. Not Tom Hanks. There's no way that one of the nicest dudes in the world could have sold his soul to the devil. Well, let's look at the evidence first. He has not only been very successful in Hollywood, but he has also won many Oscars. That is supposed to be a sign that you're part of the Illuminati. He has a really rude son, and that might be because God has cursed him for worshiping the devil. I mean, that is probably just what happens when a kid grows up rich and his parents are too nice to put him in his place, but it also could be the work of God laying down his wrath. But even all of that doesn't mean he sold his soul to the devil so he could be rich through the Illuminati forever. But then people who love to dive deep into conspiracy theories say that Tom Hanks got coronavirus. So that means that he is a pawn in the Illuminati plan. He faked getting sick so that people would believe in the virus and they could continue to take over the world. Whoa! I love these sold your soul stories because they just get crazier and crazier. Coming at number 7, we have Urbain Grandier. It would seem that the devil's reaches far because he has even made a pact with a dude who was the Pope. Now, there isn't a whole lot of evidence that proves whether or not Urbain sold his soul before or after he was Pope, but there is a lot of evidence that this dude was up to some nefarious stuff. He would apparently host and had a number of sexual partners. There's stories of him torturing people who he didn't agree with, and he was also practicing witchcraft. There was a group of nuns that was said to have disrespected him, the Pope of all people, and he sent a demon after them to ruin their life. Well, unlike now, back when this dude was Pope in 1634, if people thought you were up to something with the devil, you would be done for sure. Enough people came forward and accused this guy of witchcraft that there was a trial. During the trial, there was a lot of evidence. There was a contract that had backwards writing on it, said to be the work of the devil, that had the devil's signature on it, or apparently it did. I'm not sure how they fact-checked that one, but many people came forward to disclose this guy's unpope-like acts, and eventually he was burned at the stake. My god. Coming in at number 6, we have Pope Sylvester II. 2 popes back to back. I think it's just salacious to say that a pope was in cahoots with the devil. That's why when you go through history you can find a few popes that have been called out for loving the Dark Lord. Now the difference with Pope Sylvester is that it wasn't that he was excessively rich or because he was involved in sinful acts, it was actually because he was too smart. This guy invented the pendulum lock and the hydraulic organ, and he was in contact with Eastern religions and peoples to get ideas of what they were doing over there so he could incorporate their brilliance into his own society. And because of this, people said he might have got his all-powerful mind from making a deal with the devil. I guess things never change, because now when someone makes it to the top, everyone says they're in the Illuminati. Coming in at number 5, we have Eminem. We all love the story story of someone starting at the bottom and now they're here. We love when people are the underdog and work their way to the top. We love how people can defy the odds and become one of the most influential people in the world. Well, that's until they're actually at the top. Then we want to bring them down because it must have been the devil that got them all the way up there. That's the story with Eminem. There have been countless accusations that the rapper made a deal with the devil to jump to stardom and forever be held as one of the best rappers of all time. This is from some of the imagery that you will find in his music videos, whether it's a goat's head, a triangle, a single eye, or many of the other objects that are related to the devil. Well, the rumors about him don't stop there. They also say that the real Eminem is dead, that when he fell out of the public eye for a bit, he pushed back against the Illuminati and no longer wanted to do their bidding. So they killed him and replaced him with a clone that they can control. And that's where he got his perfect beard from. Coming in at number 4, we have Jaden Smith. Can you pass down a deal with the devil to your kids? Like kind of grandfathering them into the product like an old phone contract? Is that possible? Can you do that? I don't know how the devil works. I'm not famous enough to get in contact with him. But apparently Jaden Smith has been gifted the allegiance to the devil through his dad. People base this off of Will Smith's fame and the fact that Jaden has some strange beliefs about the world. He's very interested in a thing called orgos. It's a strange culty belief that the world is governed by positive and negative forces that we can't see. That kind of sounds like midichlorians from Star Wars. But people think that he's using a demonic subsect to try and get people into the Church of Satan. Coming in at number 3, we have Katy Perry. If you become a massive celebrity, there's only one answer, and that is the Illuminati. There's no other reason you could make it to the top. Well, for Katy Perry, that's what everyone thinks. There is a ton of stuff we could pull from, but her biggest one is the music video Dark Horse. Because if any celebrity does anything that even comes close to resembling a pyramid, you better believe that conspiracy theory people are going to come running for it. And of course, this music video has an Egyptian theme, meaning that she must have sold her soul to the devil. There was also the time she performed at the Grammys and they had her in a witch's theme with a massive crystal ball. This means that she was of course doing a satanic ritual in front of the whole world. I mean, what else could it be? Coming in at number 2, we have Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell was a fading politician and commander in the 17th century. Every champion must fall, and usually they don't get back up after their time has come. But with Cromwell, it was quite the opposite. He was able to have a second breath in his career. He was able to stand in the limelight once more. He was able to have all the people clamor at his feet and become the top dog once again. This second run at life saw him become a prominent political figure and a very skilled tactician. While this was probably hard work and intelligent moves, most people wrote this off as the man selling his soul to the devil. Now, the backing to this theory comes from the legend about him when he dies. There was apparently a storm that came over the city and was raging the entire night. People say this was the devil coming down to claim his soul. Now, that might have been true, but I don't know if the devil would go to that much work to get one soul. This guy's getting thousands of souls every day, hundreds of thousands every day. If he had to put on a massive light show to get each one of them, he would never be able to wrangle them all up. He just wouldn't have enough time. And coming into the number 1 spot, we have Christian Bale, probably the best Batman ever and one of the kings of the meme world, with the amount of juice people have been able to pull out of his hit American Psycho. I've never seen American Psycho, but I want to, just so I can have a better understanding of what scenes these memes come from. But when did the Dark Knight himself decide to give his soul to the devil and become one of the Dark Lord's little minions? Well, we don't know the exact time of when this might have happened, but Christian Bale has actually publicly thanked Satan after winning a Golden Globe for his work in the movie Vice, where he played Dick Cheney, remember the vice president who shot his friend by mistake, and might have had a hand in the whole Guantanamo Bay thing. Well, during his acceptance speech, Christian Bale went down the regular road of saying thank you to all the people close to him, and then he capped it off by saying thank you to Satan for inspiration. Now, this might have just been the actor taking a stab at how ruthless Dick Cheney is, saying that the man is actually the devil, or maybe he was actually thanking the devil for giving him the juice he needs to do what he needed to do to play the role. Like the devil materialized in his room and helped him go over lines. If that is the case, the devil doesn't seem like that bad of a dude.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have DMX. DMX, also known as Earl Simmons, was an American rapper and actor and just absolute legend. In interviews, DMX has shared stories about his belief in the existence of demons and his experiences with the supernatural. DMX has claimed that he was visited by a demon when he was a child and that the experience left him feeling traumatized. He also said that he had encountered demons in his adult life and that he believes in the power of prayer and spiritual protection to ward off their influence. In an interview with the Breakfast Club radio radio show, DMX spoke about a particularly intense encounter with a demon while he was staying in a hotel room. He described feeling a dark presence in the room and being physically attacked by an invisible force. DMX said that he used prayer and spiritual techniques to banish the demon from the room. DMX's experiences with demons and the paranormal have been a source of fascination for many of his fans, and they have contributed to his reputation as a larger-than-life figure in the music industry that will be remembered for many years to come. Demon X, that's so funny. Aw, R.I.P. In our number 9 spot today, we have Kenneth Anger. Kenneth Anger is an American underground filmmaker and author known for his experimental and surreal films that often explore themes related to occultism, mysticism, and sexuality. Anger has been associated with the occult since the 1940s, and he is considered one of the most influential figures in the American underground film scene. While Anger has never claimed to have had any direct encounters with demons, he has incorporated occult symbolism and rituals into his films and writings. In his book, Hollywood Babylon, Anger details the sordid and often scandalous history of Hollywood, which he believes is linked to the dark forces of the occult. One of Anger's most famous works is the film Invocation of My Demon Brother, which features a soundtrack composed by Mick Jagger and includes footage of various occult rituals, including a black mass. The film has been interpreted by some as a genuine attempt to invoke demonic forces, although Anger himself has denied this interpretation. Despite his reputation as an occultist, Anger has also been a vocal critic of organized religion and has described himself as a follower of the philosophy of Thelema, which was developed by occultist Aleister Crowley. Thelema emphasizes individualism and the pursuit of one's own true will, and it has been embraced by many other artists and thinkers throughout the 20th century. In our number 8 spot today, we have Bob Larson. Bob Larson is an American preacher and radio and television personality and a controversial Christian evangelist who has made a name for himself as an exorcist and paranormal investigator. Larson has claimed that he has personally been possessed by demons on multiple occasions and that he has successfully performed exorcisms on thousands of people. According to Larson, his first encounter with demonic possession occurred when he was a young man living in Denver, Colorado. He claims that he was taken over by a demon and began speaking in tongues and experiencing physical symptoms such as convulsions and blackouts. Larson's claims of demonic possession have been met with skepticism by some who argue that he is exploiting people's fears and insecurities for his own gain. However, Larson has a large following of devoted supporters who believe that his work as an exorcist is a legitimate form of spiritual healing. Regardless of whether or not Larson's claims of possession are true, his work as an exorcist has made him quite a controversial figure in the world of paranormal investigation and a source of fascination for many people. In our number 7 spot today, we have Lorraine Warren. We all know Lorraine Warren, okay? Of course, she was a renowned paranormal investigator and author who, along with her husband, Ed Warren, investigated numerous cases of alleged hauntings and demonic possessions. According to Lorraine, she was herself briefly possessed by a demon during an investigation in 1973. During the investigation, Lorraine reportedly felt a dark presence inside of her and began speaking in an unknown language. She also experienced physical symptoms such as convulsions and difficulty breathing. Lorraine's husband Ed, who was also present, was able to perform a ritual to expel the demon from her body. Lorraine's claims of being possessed have been met with skepticism by some who argue that the Warrens were more interested in promoting their own work than in conducting unbiased investigations. However, Lorraine's reputation as a paranormal investigator has earned her a place in pop culture, and her stories about haunted houses, demonic possessions, and other supernatural phenomena continue to captivate audiences. I mean, the Conjuring series is highly successful, and it's based on the work of the Warrens. In our number 6 spot today, we have Lucy Liu. Actor and artist Lucy Liu, in a 1999 interview with Us Weekly magazine, shared a chilling experience she had with a ghost while staying in a haunted hotel in New Mexico. According to Lucy, she was sleeping in her room when she suddenly woke up in the middle of the night to find a ghostly figure standing at the foot of her bed. The figure was dressed in a cowboy hat and boots and appeared to be a man from the Old West. Lucy said that the ghost spoke to her in a language she couldn't understand and then then disappeared. Lucy's encounter with the ghost left her feeling unsettled, and she reportedly slept with the lights on for the rest of her stay at the hotel. Especially after this experience, Lucy has said that she believes in the existence of ghosts and is open to the possibility of the supernatural. In our number 5 spot today, we have Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd is a Canadian actor and comedian who is perhaps best known for his work on Saturday Night Live and in films such as The Blues Brothers and, I don't know, Ghostbusters. Aykroyd has a long-standing interest in the paranormal, which is exactly where his inspirations for the movie came from, and he is claimed to have had multiple ghostly encounters over the years. One of Dan's most famous ghost encounters occurred when he was living in a house in upstate New York that was reportedly haunted by the ghost of a former resident. Aykroyd has claimed that he saw the ghost on multiple occasions and that it even communicated with him through telepathy. Aykroyd's experiences with the ghost in his house reportedly inspired him to write the screenplay for the hit movie Ghostbusters, which centers around a team of paranormal investigators who capture ghosts in New York City. As if you didn't already know that. Aykroyd's interest in the paranormal has continued throughout his life, and he has been involved in numerous investigations and documentaries related to the subject. In our number 4 spot today, we have Anneliese Michel. Anneliese was a German woman who became the subject of a controversial case of alleged demonic possession. Anneliese was born in 1952 and began experiencing seizures and other symptoms of mental illness when she was young. Her family believed that she was possessed by demons and sought the help of Catholic priests to perform exorcisms on her. Over the course of several years, Anneliese underwent a series of exorcisms that were recorded on audio tapes. The tapes of Anneliese's exorcisms are disturbing and very graphic, with her screaming, growling, and speaking in multiple voices. Her physical condition deteriorated over time, and she eventually died of malnutrition and dehydration in 1976. Anneliese's case has been the subject of much debate and a lot of controversy. Some people believe that she was truly possessed by demons, while others argue that she was suffering from mental illness and was not given the proper medical care that she needed. The case has been the subject of books, documentaries, and films, and it continues to be a source of fascination and horror for many people. And many people are at least somewhat familiar with this story since it was the basis for the famous horror movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. In our number 3 spot today, we have Emma Stone. Emma is an A-list actor who's appeared in numerous films including La La Land, Easy A, and The Amazing Spider-Man. And not only this, but she has also shared a story about a ghostly encounter she had while staying in a hotel in Hawaii. According to Emma, she was staying at a historic hotel on the island of Kauai when she woke up in the middle of the night to find a ghostly figure standing at the foot of her bed. The figure was described as a young girl, and Stone said she felt a sense of calm and warmth in its presence. Stone said that she didn't feel scared or threatened by the ghost, and that the experience actually made her feel more connected to the history and culture of Hawaii. She later learned that the hotel was said to be haunted by the ghost of a young girl who had passed in the building many years ago. Emma's encounter with the ghost has been widely reported in the media, and it has helped to fuel her reputation as a believer in the paranormal. In our number 2 spot today, we have Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers was quite the television personality, known for her sharp wit and humor, as well as her blunt and often controversial opinions. Rivers claimed to have had a ghostly encounter in her New York City apartment that left her feeling shaken up. According to Rivers, she was in her bedroom when she saw the ghost of a woman standing at the end of her bed. The ghost was described as wearing a hat and a fur coat and had a sad expression on her face. Rivers said that the ghost seemed to be trying to communicate with her, but she couldn't understand what it was saying. Rivers claimed that the ghostly encounter left her feeling spooked and that she slept with the lights on for several nights afterward. She later learned that a woman had died in the apartment many years before, and she speculated that the ghost she saw was that woman's spirit. Finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Matthew McConaughey. I'll be honest, Matthew was someone I didn't expect to put on this list because he didn't strike me as a ghost believer, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Matthew McConaughey is an actor and producer known for his roles in films such as Dallas Buyers Club, True Detective, Interstellar, the list goes on. He is a great actor. In his memoir, Green Lights, McConaughey shares a story about a paranormal experience he had while living in Hollywood. According to him, he was home alone one night when he heard a sound coming from the hallway. He got up to investigate and saw a ghostly figure walking down the hall towards him. The figure was described as a small girl wearing a pink dress, and McConaughey said that she didn't really seem very threatening, but rather curious. Matthew said that the ghostly encounter left him feeling unnerved, and that he struggled to make sense of what had happened. He later learned that the house he was living in had a history of paranormal activity, and he speculated that the ghost ghost he saw was the spirit of a young girl who had passed in the house many years before. Matthew's story about his ghostly encounter has definitely only added to his reputation as an enigmatic and unpredictable personality. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot we have Ariana Grande. This is a terrifying paranormal encounter had by the super sweet Ariana Grande. Back in the Yours Truly era for the star, while in Kansas City, she and some friends took a visit to Stull Cemetery, which legend claims is one of the gates to hell on earth. This turned out to be a more haunting visit than the group had bargained for, however, as the singer recounted that suddenly they, quote, felt this sick, overwhelming feeling of negativity over the whole car, and we smelled sulfur, which is the sign of a demon, and there was a fly in the car randomly, which is another sign of a demon. I rolled down the window before we left and said, "We apologize, we didn't mean to disrupt your peace." Things only got more spooky for Ari though when she later tried to send her manager a picture of the cemetery. This photo she attempted to send came back with an error saying that the file couldn't be sent due to the fact that it was 666 megabytes. In our number 9 spot today we have Miley Cyrus. In an interview with Elle UK, Miley Cyrus opened up about a haunted apartment that she and her family stayed in during her 2009 European tour. She said, quote, "It was seriously so terrifying. It used to be an old bakery and they turned it into an apartment building, and I was having really crazy dreams and really scary things, and one night my little sister, it sounds crazy to tell you, but she was standing in the shower and all of a sudden I hear her scream. I run in there and the water had somehow flipped to hot, but it wasn't like the water had just changed, the knob had turned, but she hadn't turned it and it was burning her. She was really red." She continued on with the chilling tale by saying, quote, "Before I felt this, I thought I had seen a little boy sitting on the sink watching me take a shower, so I felt really freaked out. I was sitting there the next night, and maybe I'm crazy, but I could have sworn I could see this little boy sitting there on the sink caking his feet. My mom was getting mad that we were looking into it because she thought it was going to scare Noah, so then my aunt, who we hadn't told about this, comes in and she starts freaking out. She's like, I have no idea what happened, but I left the apartment and I came back and all of the doors and windows were open. I locked the apartment." She finished off her creepy story by saying that there were a few more strange things that happened, and this all was enough for her to swear off ever staying in that place again. Miley believes the haunting ties back into the history of the building and says that the apparition she saw matches up with who once lived there. In our number 8 spot today we have Adele. The haunting story of Adele starts off when she decided that she had had enough of fans and paparazzi outside of her London home, so she decided to purchase and move to a new home in Sussex. This house, in its past life before housing the Grammy Award winner, is said to have been a convent. Despite the change, Adele continued to be visited by people she didn't want in her home, but this time the visitors were otherworldly. The singer claimed that she began to hear noises that she was unable to find the source of. Things in her home also began to fall for seemingly no apparent reason, and apparently these paranormal encounters made Adele so unsettled that she had to hire a bodyguard to stay in her house full time. Hopefully these plaguing hauntings have since stopped, but only Adele knows for sure. In our number 7 spot today we have Ozzy Osbourne. One of the most famous rock stars ever, Ozzy has long been connected to the occult. I mean, Ozzy, Prince of Darkness, didn't just come from nowhere. Aside from the rumors, however, Ozzy has been fairly open about his personal connection to the devil. In a 1984 issue of Hit Parader, Ozzy said, quote, "I really wish I knew why I've done some of the things I've done over the years. Sometimes I think that I'm possessed by some outside spirit. A few years ago, I was convinced of that. I thought I truly was possessed by the devil. I remember sitting through The Exorcist a dozen times, saying to myself, yeah, I can relate to that." He even has expressed confusion over whether or not if he's a medium for some kind of outside source or if something much more sinister is at play. When speaking of actually selling his soul, Ozzy had some less than comforting things to say. He said, quote, "I already have. Well, you sell your soul to the devil when you do something yourself that you shouldn't, and I already have. I've lived my life to the fullest. If there's an afterlife, I've got a good spot in the furnace. You know?" In our number 6 spot today we have Post Malone. Good old Posty has probably one of the most famous celebrity haunting stories, and it all started with a visit to ghost hunter Zach Bagans' museum. Within the museum was an old wine box that is said to hold a dybbuk, which in Jewish mythology is a malicious demon. This box had had come to the museum after the previous owner bought it on eBay and had some really horrible things happen to him and his family afterwards. These included reports of him having really horrific nightmares, and this extended to anyone else who touched the box, and sometimes even those who had just been around it. Even worse, his own mother had a serious medical emergency after he had given this box to her. This is all to say, the haunted item showed up in the Bergen Museum, and then 2018 rolled around and Post Malone decided to take a haunting tour of the occult collection. During this tour, Post Malone reached out and touched the box, and, well, he has been dealing with the consequences ever since. These are said to include the same horrific nightmares detailed by the box's previous owner. In our number 5 spot today, we have Bob Dylan. Not necessarily who I really expected to put on this list, but there was an interesting interview back in 2014 that made many people speculate that the musician might have actually sold his soul. In the interview, he was explaining that he owes his years of fame and success to a deal he made. The interviewer asked, "Why are you still out here?" To which Dylan replied, "It goes back to that destiny thing. I made a bargain with it. You know, long time ago, and I'm holding up my end." The interviewer, of course, had to follow up on that cryptic message, so he said, "What was your bargain?" And he replied, "To get where I am now." The interviewer asked, "Should I ask who you made the bargain with?" And he replied, "With the chief commander." The interviewer clarified, "On this earth?" To which he answered, "In this earth and in a world we can't see." I can totally see why some people decided to draw their own conclusions from this. I mean, it sounds like he's basically speaking in riddles, so while he doesn't outright say that he sold his soul, some believe that this is what he was trying to say in that interview. In our number 4 spot today, we have Mike Colter. You might know Mike Colter as he plays Luke Cage in the MCU, but what you might not know about the actor is a very ghostly encounter that he had. Back in 2019, Mike was on Kelly Clarkson's show, and while on the show, he had an eerie tale for the audience when he said, quote, "I'm from the South, and there's a lot of things that happened in the South that don't happen anywhere else." Of course, Kelly inquired further, and that is when the star revealed a reoccurring moment that he claims happened, quote, "night after night." His mother basically explained it to him as a spirit being attracted to his energy. He said, quote, "When I was a kid, I used to have this thing that was sitting on my chest when I would sleep, and it was keeping me from getting up, and I couldn't open my eyes, and I would struggle." I don't know about you guys, but that sounds absolutely horrifying. I know a couple demons that could match up with that. Maybe it's a sleep paralysis demon, who knows. In our number 3 spot today, we have Vanessa Hudgens. Just last year, in April of 2022, Vanessa appeared on the Kelly Clarkson show. I guess everyone's just on the Kelly Clarkson show talking about their paranormal experience. And during this appearance, she spoke about having, quote, "a lot of paranormal encounters over the years." She said, quote, "I kind of shut it down for a while because the unknown is scary, but I recently was like, no, this is a gift and something that I have the ability to do, so I'm going to lean into it." Expanding on how she is leaning into these abilities, she explained that she had actually recently completed her first real paranormal investigation. Now we have Ed, Lorraine, and Vanessa. During this investigation, she said she met a very playful ghost at the site of a cemetery. I mean, I guess it's not like a malicious spirit. She said that she was able to speak to this ghost using a spirit box, and that after introducing herself, the ghost replied and repeated the names back to her. Maybe this year we'll see Vanessa diving even further into the paranormal, the occult, and all of these otherworldly beings. In our number 2 spot today, we have Courtney Cox. Back in March 2022, former Friends star Courtney Cox shared a harrowing experience she had that led her to go as far as to sell her house. She said, quote, "I didn't believe at first, but I lived in this house in Laurel Canyon, which is in LA, obviously, and it was Gypsy Rose Lee's house and Carole King's." She went on to say, quote, "So Carole King came over to my house and she said that there had been a divorce that was really ugly and that there was a ghost in the house. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But other people would stay there with me, like friends of mine, and they said they felt an encounter with a woman who was sitting on the edge of the bed." Despite these tales from her friends and even doing an actual seance with Carole, Courtney still wasn't really a believer of the supernatural. This all did eventually change, however, and it happened when a UPS worker came to her house. Quote, "I was at the house one day, not being a believer. The doorbell rang. It was a UPS guy or something, and I opened the door and he said, 'Do you know this house is haunted?' And I go, yeah, why? Why do you think that? And he goes, because there's someone standing behind you. And I was like, let's sell. She said she quickly put the house up for sale. She said she quickly put the house up for sale after that, and that she, quote, couldn't sleep there alone ever again. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Cynthia Rowley. So there was a show called Celebrity Ghost Stories, and in an episode, Cynthia Rowley showed up to share her haunting tale. The designer recalled a spooky tale that took place at her estate, which is located in Greenwich, Connecticut. She explained that there was a, quote, ghost-like feeling in the house, which certainly is an eerie feeling, but soon a feeling turned into something a little bit more tangible. Eventually, Cynthia began seeing a sort of apparition in the corner of a room in the home. This apparition appeared as a woman who was wearing a sort of scarf over her face. This is all chilling enough, but things only got worse when Cynthia had to escape a fire in her home. She did, thankfully, and was fine, but then the local fire chief told her something she hadn't previously known. The woman who once owned the home she now lived in was called the, quote, Diamond Match heiress who was badly burned in a blaze. Seems like Cynthia may have been haunted by the previous owner of the house, and not just in like a tacky decor kind of way, I mean like for real haunted. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Elvis Presley. There have been rumors and conspiracy theories surrounding Elvis Presley's success and his alleged deal with the devil to achieve fame and fortune. Some fans and theorists believe that Presley's success was not solely due to his musical talent, but rather his involvement in the occult and the supernatural. One of the most prevalent rumors surrounding Presley's alleged deal with the devil is the fact that he was born a twin, but his brother Jesse Garon was stillborn. According to the rumor, Presley made a pact with the devil to trade his twin brother's life for his own success. I personally think that that is a particularly cruel rumor and conspiracy, and am much more on the side of those who believe that Presley's interest in mysticism and the occult was evidence of his involvement in dark practices. Some point to his love for black magic and spiritualism as proof that he made a deal with the devil. Despite the persistent rumors, there is no concrete evidence that Elvis Presley ever sold his soul or made a deal with the devil. These rumors are likely just a product of his enduring fame and the allure of the supernatural. In our number 9 spot today, we have Justin Bieber. I'll be honest, I am a believer, so it was news to me when I found out that some people think he too has sold his soul. Some have pointed to his music videos and lyrics, as well as his public behavior and controversial actions as evidence of his supposed pact with the devil. People believe that Bieber's meteoric rise to fame and success at a young age was too sudden to be natural, and that he must have made a deal with the devil to achieve it, while others point to his lyrics, music videos, and imagery, which they believe contain hidden symbols and messages associated with the occult. Many of these claims are most likely the result of speculation, rumors, and conspiracy theories fueled by Bieber's controversial personal life and the internet's tendency to spread sensationalized stories, but hey, who am I to say for sure? In our number 8 spot today, we have Elizabeth Bathory. Elizabeth was a Hungarian noblewoman who lived from August of 1560 to August of 1614. She was born into one of the oldest and most powerful families in Transylvania, and she was well educated and ran various estates and bore many children. Oh, and this is all happening while she is also killing young women and bathing in their blood. Yeah, weird and gross, and also terrible. Elizabeth is known for killing her servants and bathing in their blood as she believed it would keep her young. Not only this, but she is also said to have made a deal with the devil in order to gain this sort of power. All accounts of Elizabeth remember her as a terrible, evil person. It is said that her number of victims most likely ranges somewhere from 175 to 200, but some people claim that it might be as many as 600. It is no wonder she is referred to as Countess Dracula. In our number 7 spot today, we have Madonna. Madonna has been accused of making a deal with the devil for her success and longevity in the music industry. The rumors have persisted over the years due to her use of provocative and controversial imagery in her performances, as well as her supposed connections to secret societies and the occult. Some people believe that her massive success in the music industry and her often controversial behavior are all signs that she made a deal with the devil. Others point to her use of religious imagery in her music and performances, which they believe is a deliberate attempt to subvert traditional religious values. Some people just can't get over that the girl wants to have fun, and she's been having fun in the public eye for decades now. I get it, Madonna gets a little carried away from time to time, but that doesn't mean the woman sold her soul. Or does it? In our number 6 spot today, we have Johann Faust. According to the stories passed down about this man, it is said that he was an alchemist and astrologer who lived in Germany during the early 1500s. It is said that in his plight to become the smartest man in the world, while also enjoying as many earthly pleasures as possible, he summoned the help of a demon named Mephistopheles. There are terrible stories about how cruel and truly evil this man was, and as a professor, it is said that he looked down on everyone else. Local priests apparently believed that he had actually made a deal with the devil in which he sold his soul to him, and there are also stories that say his pet dog was actually a demon who was able to shapeshift. During his life, he did publish several grimoires, and in 1540, while conducting some sort of alchemic experiment, his laboratory exploded. Just thought that was a fun little anecdote to share with you guys. In our number 5 spot today, we have Michael Jackson. Definitely one of the celebrities who has had the most connections to the occult. Some fans and theorists believe that Jackson's success, talent, and enduring popularity could not be attributed solely to his hard work and dedication, but rather to a supernatural pact that he had made. One of the most persistent rumors surrounding Jackson's supposed deal with the devil was that he made the pact at the age of 12. According to this rumor, Jackson traded his soul to achieve success in the music industry. Others have pointed to Jackson's fascination with the occult and his interest in spiritual practices as evidence of his involvement in the dark arts. Some also cite his dramatic physical transformations as proof of his alleged deal with the devil. At the end of the day, did Michael Jackson have a deal with the devil? Well, I guess I'll just let you decide for yourself. It's my way of saying no, none of these people did, because the devil doesn't exist. In our number 4 spot today, we have Aleister Crowley. This man is quite well known for being the leader of an occult group, and this really does stem back even into his childhood. It is said that quite early on, Aleister started calling himself the Beast and the Antichrist, and he is even quoted as saying that God and Satan fought over his soul. In one of his books, he wrote, quote, "I was in the death struggle with self. God and Satan fought for my soul those 3 long hours. God conquered. Now, I have only one doubt left. Which of the twain was God?" Many people believe that perhaps he made a deal with Satan, but it is possible that these are just rumblings based on Aleister's teachings and beliefs. In our number 3 spot today, we have Beyonce. Queen Bee, an absolute living legend. Like her husband though, who we spoke about on part 1, Beyonce has also been accused of being a member of the Illuminati and selling her soul for fame and fortune. The claim that Beyonce sold her soul is a conspiracy theory that has been circulating online for several years. However, there is no evidence to support this claim. Just don't want the bee people to come for me. The belief that Beyonce sold her soul likely stems from her success, which some people may find hard to believe without a supernatural explanation. I do understand that one. I mean, did you see Homecoming? Additionally, her music and performances often incorporate religious and spiritual imagery, which may further fuel the rumors. Also forgot to include that people think she's a part of the Illuminati. Okay, that's important. People think that she is directly related to a satanic organization. The success of talented and hardworking individuals like Beyonce is typically the result of dedication, perseverance, and talent, but some people just swear it's soul selling. In our number 2 spot today, we have Theophilus of Adna. For this one, we are taking it back a little bit, all the way to 538 AD. Theophilus of Adna was a cleric in the Roman Catholic Church. So basically, one day he was elected to become the new bishop, but he ended up denying the offer, as it is said that he wanted a more priestly sort of position instead of one with all of that power and responsibility. It is said that he wanted the position of archdeacon, which would have seen him controlling where the donation money went. So apparently, in passing on this bishop position, he thought that if he gave this bishop position to his rival, then his rival should at least be grateful enough to give him the position he wanted. But of course, this did not happen. The new bishop gave away the seat that Theophilus wanted and instead gave him the position of being a humble cleric. This made Theo super angry, and this is when he thought that maybe the church isn't as holy as he once thought they were. This is when he decided to summon the help of Satan. He ended up signing a contract with Satan in his own blood. He denounced Jesus and the Virgin Mary, and it is said that with the help of Satan, he was once again voted into the bishop position, and this time he accepted. At this point in time, it is said that he felt so guilty he confessed to this deal with the devil, and the priest who he confessed to decided that they should burn the blood-signed contract. For a second, Theo looked up, but then suddenly he collapsed and died. Many people believe that it was because he had broken his contract. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have Jonathan Moulton. Jonathan is a man who was born in 1726 and he was known for his military career. He served in King George's War as well as in the French and Indian Wars, but after his service is where the story really starts. Basically, after his time fighting was over, he went on to become one of New England's wealthiest men. This caused heads to swivel and rumors to swirl because this wasn't something that was normally seen. This all gave way for the rumor that Jonathan had struck his luck of fortune because he was actually working with the devil. People began to say that for financial gain, he in turn gave his eternal devotion and even his soul over to the devil. The devil would visit him every month in order to fill up his boot with gold. You know what happens with things like this though, people get greedy. It is said that despite this lavish lifestyle he was already living, he wanted more, and this led to him making the mistake of trying to trick the devil. He cut a hole in the floor above his basement and placed a boot over it, which also had a hole in the heel. Of course, he did this so that when the devil came with the gold, he'd get a whole basement full rather than just a boot. But the devil certainly caught on. From there, it is said that he burned down Jonathan's house along with all of the gold that lay inside. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Led Zeppelin. Rock and roll and Satanism have long been connected in some people's eyes, so it's no wonder that legendary band Led Zeppelin has experienced some of these dark connections. Back in January of 1982, evangelical broadcaster Paul Crouch began accusing different rock artists of hiding messages in their songs through backmasking, and one example that he pointed out was the classic Zeppelin tune Stairway to Heaven. He directly pointed to a segment of the song where he claimed that when played in reverse, he was hearing the words, "Oh, here's to my sweet Satan, the one whose little path would make me sad, whose power is Satan. He will give those with him 666. There was a little tool shed where he made us suffer, sad Satan." Since this accusation of satanic messages, this has definitely become one of the most famous instances of alleged backmasking, which has only added to the legacy of Zeppelin. In our number 9 spot today, we have Bob Dylan. Not necessarily who I expected to put on this list, but there was an interesting interview back in 2004 that made many people speculate that the musician might have sold his soul. In the interview, he was explaining that he owes his years of fame and success to a deal he made. The interviewer asked, "Why are you still out here?" To which Dylan replied, "It goes back to that destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, you know, long time ago, and I'm holding up my end." The interviewer, of course, had to follow up on what that cryptic message was, so he asked, "What was your bargain?" Dylan replied, "To get where I am now." The interviewer asked, "Should I ask who you made the bargain with?" He replied, "With the chief commander." The interviewer clarified, "On this earth?" To which he answered, "In this earth and in a world we can't see." I can totally see why some people decided to draw their own conclusions from this. I mean, it sounds like he is basically speaking in riddles. While he doesn't outright say that he sold his soul, some believe that this is what he was trying to say in that interview. In our number 8 spot today, we have Ozzy Osbourne. One of the most famous rock stars ever, Ozzy has long been connected to the occult. I mean, Ozzy, Prince of Darkness, didn't just come from nowhere. Aside from the rumors, however, Ozzy has been fairly open about his personal connection to the devil. In a 1984 issue of Hit Parader, Ozzy said, quote, "I really wish I knew why I've done some of the things I've done over the years. Sometimes I think that I'm possessed by some outside spirit. A few years ago, I was convinced of that. I thought I truly was possessed by the devil. I remember sitting through The Exorcist a dozen times, saying to myself, yeah, I can relate to that." He even has expressed confusion over whether or not he's a medium for some kind of outside source, or if something much more sinister is at play. When speaking of actually selling his soul, well, Ozzy had some less than comforting things to say. He said, quote, "I already have. Well, you sell your soul to the devil when you do something yourself that you shouldn't, and I already have. I've lived my life to the fullest. If there's an afterlife, I've got a good spot in the furnace. You know?" I'll see you there, Ozzy. In our number 7 spot today, we have Jay-Z. Rapper Jay-Z has long had some interesting stories and conspiracies surrounding him, including his alleged connection to the Illuminati. You know, this secret society that conspiracy theorist claims possesses this crazy, unknowable power. People often make this connection with a lot of people in the rap and hip-hop industry, but it happens to Jay-Z often due to him referencing the devil multiple times in his music videos. I mean, a especially in the song Lucifer. People also make connections to certain imagery shown in his music videos and even in his merch, or the things he wears himself as well, to things like the occult and Satan himself. Whether it's a pentagram, the all-seeing eye, or the phrase "do what thou wilt," it seems as though Jay-Z has some people in a satanic panic. In our number 6 spot today we have Robert Johnson. Well known for being one of the most incredible guitar players of all time, Robert was one of those people that some members of the public simply just couldn't see how he was so talented, so of course that led to some extremely haunting rumors swirling about him. Some people claimed that he was only able to gain his talent through supernatural means, which many claimed was by way of the devil. Story goes that Robert headed to the crossroads where the devil took his guitar, tuned it, and showed him how to master the blues. Unfortunately, however, with this eerie tale comes a very tragic end. Some say that in exchange for his abilities, Robert had to offer the later half of his life. He exchanged much of his life in order to make this deal. Sadly, Robert would pass away at the exceptionally young age of 27. Many claim this was actually due to a poisoning made by a jealous man. Whatever the real story behind his life, talents, and tragic death, the legacy of Robert certainly lives on. He was an incredibly prolific musician who left behind quite the record collection. In our number 5 spot today we have Niccolo Paganini. Niccolo was a professional violinist who was born in 1782. His parents began to send him to lessons when he was just 5 years old, and by age 15 he was already touring the world because he was so talented. What's interesting about Niccolo and his story, other than his obvious musical genius however, is the rumors surrounding his talent and subsequent recognition. According to some, people believe that his own mother summoned the devil in order for her son to be the extreme talent that he was. There are many modern diagnoses that could potentially explain some of what made Niccolo so talented, and I mean, we all know quite well that sometimes people are just born with extreme talent, but of course, in the early 1800s, people and their imagination certainly ran wild. The final reason why people believe Niccolo may have made a deal with the devil is because shortly before his death, Niccolo was quite sick. The doctors had a feeling he was nearing death, so they sent in a priest to pray over him. When Niccolo first saw the priest, it is said that he freaked out and sent the priest away. Many people believe that him pushing the priest away was only a confirmation of the fact that he was working with the devil. In our number 4 spot today we have Giuseppe Tartini. Okay, so this story is one that is kind of similar to Niccolo's, but even more strange. Giuseppe was an Italian violinist and composer who lived during the 1700s. He went on to compose a song called the Devil's Trill Sonata, and not only this, but he also claimed to wake up one night to find Satan sitting on the edge of his bed playing the violin. It seems as though the devil really likes violins, apparently. What's extremely curious is after this alleged encounter, it is said that Giuseppe's violin skills hit heights never seen before. He was able to suddenly play extremely complicated trills that are impossible for most musicians, and apparently even today the sonata is too difficult for many musicians to play, which is why people believe that perhaps this story really was true. In our number 3 spot today we have Jack Parsons. Jack was a man who was born just a few weeks prior to the Wright brothers flying the first airplane, and being born at a time like this had him growing up dreaming of and reading sci-fi novels about rocket ships taking people to space. It is said that this love of rocket ships and these dreams of going to space are what led to him summoning the devil in order to make a deal. Jack wanted to sell his soul in exchange for a rocket ship. This deal didn't end up working, but Jack continued to study science as he grew older. Later in life, he stumbled upon the teachings of Aleister Crowley and tried his hand at summoning things again. This time he tried to summon a goddess by the name of Babylon that was said to possibly help men get to the moon one day. Technically, in some ways, it worked, because Jack Parsons ended up helping create the jet fuel that is said to still be used today. Maybe it was his original deal with the devil, maybe it was the goddess, or maybe it was just good old passion and drive that did it. Guess that all depends on what you believe. In our number 2 spot today we have Christoph Heisman. Back in 1677, Christoph was an artist who was working on a castle in Austria. He was so talented at his job that he had been commissioned by the nobles to do this work. There were rumblings about how he may have sold his soul to the devil, but no one was sure of it until it was said that Christoph confessed. He said he had 9 years prior and that he regretted it very much now and actually wanted an exorcism. They demanded to know if he was a practicing witch, but in the end end it was decided that he was not, and that instead the devil just had a very strong hold on him. The local priest began giving Christoph exorcisms, and during these sessions, Christoph explained that he had these intense visions where he was coming face to face with the devil, who was in the form of a dragon. The dragon was holding the contract that held Christoph's soul, and this is when he was able to rip it out of the dragon's talons. When he woke up, it seemed as though he was cured. After this, he began painting pictures of the devil, and he even painted a story with multiple panels that told the story of how he sold his soul and how they helped him to get it back. In our number 1 spot today, we have Antoine Rose. This woman from the 15th century is often credited with our modern day image of a witch riding a broomstick. She became known as the Witch of Savoy, and she is said to have confessed to regularly meeting with the devil. I mean, let's be honest, history doesn't exactly have a good record with those accused of witchcraft, so it isn't quite clear if this deal with the devil was real, or if perhaps Antoine could just add 1 + 1, and then suddenly she was accused of being a witch and had to find a way to try and defend herself. Legend goes that she was in a position where she was in dire need of money, and when she asked her neighbors for help, they led her to a group of people who convinced her to ask the devil for help. When the devil appeared, he agreed to help, of course, in exchange for her rejection of God and her promise to worship him. Story has it that she said the devil had a low, raspy voice when he appeared to her in human form, and she also apparently said that she was quite afraid of him. Can we really blame her?
Number 10. The Violinist. It's been long said that successful artists have made a deal with the devil, and this has been going on for hundreds of years. An Italian violinist named Giuseppe Tartini claimed the devil appeared to him in a dream and played for him the most incredible piece of music he had ever heard. Here is how he described the experience. One night in the year 1713, I dreamed I had made a pact with the devil for my soul. Everything went as I wished. My new servant anticipated my every desire. Among other things, I gave him my violin to see if he could play. How great was my astonishment on hearing a sonata so wonderful and so beautiful, played with such great art and intelligence as I had ever even conceived in my boldest flights of fantasy. Upon waking, Giuseppe tried to recreate it, and that became his magnum opus, known as the Devil's Trill Sonata. Number 9. Exorcism Gone Wrong. In 1997, Father Gabriel Amorth conducted his exorcisms in Rome, and he asked for the help of Jesus, and the young man he was dealing with began to curse and spit, and started using English instead of his native Italian. Screaming and howling, the demon burst forth and looked straight at him, drooling saliva from the young man's mouth. Father Gabriel said he returned fire with prayers and other ritual recitations, demanding that the demon reveal its name. He said, "Unclean spirit, whoever you are and all your companions who possess this servant of God, I command you, tell me your name, the day and the hour of your damnation." The man fixed him with a glare, snarled, and said, "I am Lucifer." Father Gabriel was shocked. He did not expect to receive such a terrifying response. The father mostly used prayers as his weapon, reciting verses of liberation from the Roman rite of exorcism. As Father Gabriel continually commanded the demon to leave the host, it eventually left, but my goodness, that sounds absolutely terrifying. Number 8. Witch Trials. Sarah Good was one of the first 3 women to be accused of witchcraft in the Salem witch trials, which occurred in 1692 in Massachusetts. On March 25, 1692, Sarah was tried for witchcraft, and when she was brought in, the accusers immediately began to rock back and forth and moan, seemingly in response to Sarah's presence. Later in the trial, one of the accusers fell into a fit. Now, Sarah denied the allegations against her, but another woman on trial admitted to being the devil's servant. She stated that a tall man dressed in all black came to them, demanding they sign their names in a great book. Although initially refusing, she eventually wrote her name after Sarah, and another woman forced her to. When Sarah was allowed the chance to defend herself in front of the 12 jurors in the Salem Village Meeting House, she argued her innocence, proclaiming that the other 2 were the real witches. In the end, however, Sarah was convicted of witchcraft and sentenced to death. So, did she really meet the devil, or was she innocent? Who knows? Number 7. Strayed from the Path. This is the testimony of Jennifer Perez, who was brought up in a Christian home. She strayed from that path, got into drugs, died and was sent to hell. Fortunately, she was given a second chance, but this is her story. She was in the hospital and her spirit woke up, but her body didn't. As a spirit, two men dressed in red approached her and told her to come with them. She went to heaven and saw the Lord and two angels, Gabriel and Michael. She and Gabriel went through a black door and it was dark and they were falling. The farther they fell, the hotter it was, and she said it smelled like sulfur. They got to the bottom and she realized that she was in hell, seeing people being tortured by various demons. The cries and torture scared her, and then she saw a massive red creature in the middle of it all, just watching everything. She assumed that this was the devil, and it terrified her. After this, she then ascended back to heaven and was asked for a second chance. She then woke up in the hospital, alive, and devoted the rest of her life to God. Number 6. Mom met the devil. A user on Reddit posted this story about the time their mother met the devil. They said, "My mom told me a story of when she met the devil. She was in high school, she had a friend who was dating an older man. He was probably 20 to 30 years older than her, and he gave her a necklace. Not wanting to get caught by her parents, she gave the necklace to my mom. She wore it, and that night when my mom slept, she dreamt of a man. Clean cut and handsome, but disturbingly evil. She said all she knew about the man was that he was pure evil. He came up to her face, eyes locked on her, stone cold and expressionless, reached for her neck and grabbed the necklace from her neck and twirled it in a circle in the air like a witch's pendant. She jolted awake and couldn't feel the necklace, and in a panic she looked all around for the necklace and found it under her pillow in a perfect spiral." Number 5. TikTok doctor. Once, a man who was pronounced dead by his doctor after being injured said that rather than seeing a bright light and the feeling of coming home, he instead saw hell itself and met the devil. A doctor took to TikTok to explain that he encountered a young man in his early 20s who had been stabbed in the heart after being involved in a deal that went wrong. Not willing to let the man die, medical staff took the victim into surgery, kept him from losing too much blood, and treated the wound in his heart. The doctor remembers the man waking up 4 hours later and crying, claiming that he went straight down to hell and looked straight in the eyes of the devil. The man said he could see the doctors working to save his life, and having never prayed before, gave it a try, at which point an angel pulled him back up out of hell. Remembering how clear the man had been, the doctor said it was the most amazing experience because he was legit. I mean, nobody makes up an experience like that. The last I heard, he's completely changed his life, he gave his life to God, and I still to this day, the look in his eyes when he woke up, the terror, I'm absolutely convinced he did meet the devil. Number 4. Working for the devil. Gilles de Rais was originally hailed a hero of France for his role in the 100 Years' War, a time during which he served as a comrade in arms to Joan of Arc, but the nobleman Gilles de Rais lived a secret, gruesome second life where he enjoyed ending the lives of people who couldn't defend themselves. In September 1440, de Rais was arrested after an almost decade-long spree in which he may have ended the lives of over 140 victims. During his trial, both de Rais and several of his servants/accomplices confessed to their evil deeds. Besides ending people's lives, he also admitted to engaging in Satanism by reportedly summoning the devil and his demonic minions. While the nobleman refused to sell his soul, he offered the blood and organs of his victims in exchange for knowledge and power over the dark arts. Number 3. God wanted her to see hell. Josefa Menendez was a young Spanish sister who had a short religious life of great suffering and experienced many revelations throughout her life. More than once she was taken to hell to witness and feel the suffering firsthand. Sister Josefa was reluctant to write on the subject of hell, and did so only to conform to her Lord's wishes. She wrote about her experiences in her journal, and she described it as the greatest torment of hell, namely the soul's inability to love. She wrote, "One of these damned souls cried out, 'This is my torture, that I want to love and cannot. There is nothing left me but hatred and despair. If one of us could so much as make a single act of love, but we cannot, we live on hatred." As mentioned, she went to hell multiple times, but one time she saw the devil. She wrote, "Souls were crying out and the devil answered, 'Insinuate yourselves by including carelessness in them, but keep in the background so that you are not found out. Tempt these others into ambition, into self-interest, to acquiring wealth without working, whether it be lawful devil or not. That entry was from February 3rd, 1923. She visited hell many times after that, but didn't report on seeing the devil again. And that sounds absolutely terrifying. Number 2. In a coma. Will Carroll is a drummer who has been in the band Death Angel since 2009 and has provided the drum tracks for their last 4 studio albums. After spending nearly 2 weeks in a coma fighting Will revealed that during his battle with the virus, he saw the afterlife, where he would be sent to hell and meet Satan. The illness left him in a critical state where he was put on a ventilator while lying unconscious in a California Pacific Medical Center hospital bed for 12 days before recovering. He said that the devil would punish him for the deadly sin of sloth. The musician said Satan would transform him into a creature similar to that of Star Wars' Jabba the Hutt, and that he would vomit blood until he ultimately had a heart attack. Will told the San Francisco Chronicle that what he went through allowed him to change some of his typical lifestyle habits, including his once heavy alcohol and illegal substance use. "I'm also going to listen to satanic metal though," he joked, but he later admitted that after beating COVID-19, he doesn't think Satan's quite as cool as he used to. And coming up at number 1, The Devil Made Me Do It. Sound familiar? It's because the third Conjuring movie has the same title. This film is inspired by the real events that took place with Arnie Johnson. Ed and Lorraine Warren were helping exorcise a possessed boy named David Glatzel in the early 80s. David's family had seen him being beaten and choked by invisible hands, and that red marks had appeared on his neck afterwards. David had started to growl, hiss, speak in otherworldly voices, and recite passages from the Bible as well. They did many exorcisms on David, and Lorraine said that David levitated, ceased breathing for a time, and even demonstrated the supernatural ability of precognition. During his exorcisms, there was also a rocking chair in the room that would allegedly rock on its own, levitate, and even vanish and reappear. David and Lorraine also claimed to have seen the devil sitting in it. Arnie then coerced one of the demons to possess him while participating in one of David's exorcisms. Afterwards, Arnie's personality changed. He would fall into a trance-like state where he would growl and hallucinate, but later have no memory of it. Then one day, his and his girlfriend's Debbie's landlord was drunk and misbehaving, so Ernie ended his life. The day after the incident, Lorraine Warren informed the Brookfield police that Ernie was possessed when the crime was committed. The case then went on to trial, where Ernie's defense was demonic possession and the devil made me do it. The jury deliberated for 15 hours over 3 days before convicting Ernie of first-degree manslaughter. He was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison, though he only served 5.
Coming in at number 10, Robert Johnson. One of the most famous situations of someone selling their soul to the devil. It would seem that he kind of got a raw deal, because even though this dude became one of the best jazz players of all time, he died at 27. Dude, if I'm selling my soul to the devil, you better believe that I'm going to want to live a full life. Like, you get my soul for eternity after I die. The least you can do is let me enjoy the deal until I'm in my 90s, and I want to be a good 90. Like, I want to be able to run around like I'm Jack LaLanne. But rumor has it that Johnson was horrible at the guitar before he made his deal with the devil. Back then, when he played music, it was so bad that cats would scream and people would throw stuff at him. Then he left for a while, went to the mysterious crossroads, and came back a god of the guitar. He might have just found a teacher who was willing to show him how to use the tools that he was given that unlock his God-given powers to play the axe like a legend. Or maybe he did go down the easy road and got the devil to hook him up with some unholy powers to juice the whole thing up a little bit. Either way, if I was him, I would have played into the rumor, because it would have made you more popular. Everyone would want to come see the man who sold his soul to the devil to play like a god. They would want to know what the devil could give you. Coming at number 9, with Giuseppe Tartini. This is really how you reach legendary status. Just like Robert Johnson, you want to be a person so good at your craft that the only way people can justify it is by saying that you made a deal with the devil, that you are so unreal at ripping down what you do that you must have done some dirty work to get that good. That's what I want from my life. I want people to be like, this dude was for sure on some performance enhancers, or he was using black magic, because there's no way that anyone could be that good at what this guy did. That's what happened with Giuseppe. This dude was ripping through the violin so good that people were like, the devil must have hooked him up with some good juice. People thought that he could have had 6 fingers on one hand that allowed him to play notes that no one else could ever play. The story goes that Giuseppe woke up and the devil was sitting on the edge of his bed just ripping the violin. Like the dude was so legendary, the violin, that Giuseppe was awestruck. Then the devil just vanished. Giuseppe quickly wrote down everything he could remember from the song, and that became the Devil's Trill Sonata. It blew people away and everyone was breaking down to that song. It was so sick. But Giuseppe said the song that the devil played was even more legendary and was super lit. Those were his exact words. Coming in at number 8, we have Christian Bale, one of the greatest actors of our generation. How does he do it? Well, it must be the devil. I'm starting to see a pattern here. It seems like back in the day, people used to say the best people must have sold their soul to the devil in order to become great, because how else could they do it? Nowadays, if you become rich and famous, you are part of the Illuminati, which worships the devil. I mean, it's the only logical answer, right? It's not like people just work really hard and then they are able to achieve things that no other person ever could. There's no way that these speculations could be coming from people who haven't achieved anything of substance, looking up at the people above them and then creating insane dialogue so they can cope with their inadequacies. No, that could never be the case, but in the case of Christian Bale, he did actually thank the devil in one of his Golden Globe speeches, which is pretty sus. I mean, he was probably just trying to stir the pot because he knows that people will freak out if he says something like that, or maybe the dude does believe in the devil. I don't know. Alright, coming in the next spot, we have Johann Faust. Unlike the other people on this list so far, this dude is a legendary bad guy. Faust was a teacher, professor, and one of the smartest people of his generation. He was alive in the 1500s, and back then he had one goal and one goal only. That was to become the smartest man alive. He wanted people to bow down to him and his genius, and he wanted the recognition that he believed he deserved. Because of this, he had an ego the size of Jupiter and thought that everyone was beneath him. He would beat his students, and he was known for being rude to everyone around him. Now, I don't know if it's because this guy was so mean or if it's because he was really into magic, but people thought that he was working with the devil. I guess if you're mean and you like magic, there would be nothing stopping you from getting into the dark arts. People even thought that this guy's dog was a demon, that it walked around, a demonic dog, and tried to attack people, and when no one was looking, it would morph into a human that would serve Faust. Eventually, the dude died, and it was the spectacular fashion in which this dude died which solidified him as someone who worked with the devil. His lab exploded, and the dude died in a ball of flames. The rumor says that there was a pair of hoof prints burned into the floorboards. Coming number 6, we have Niccolo Paganini. Man, back in the day, if you could rip the violin that good, people thought you must have been up to some funny business. There is no way you could get that good just off of skill and hard work, no way at all. Niccolo Paganini was very young when he picked up the violin. At only age 11, he would touch the instrument for the first time, and right away it would seem that he was destined to be one of the best in the world. When he was still a teenager, he was performing in front of hundreds of people. This guy was definitely a prodigy, but as we have learned, the theme of this list is that people can't trust you if you start to get too good. So there was talk that this dude sold his soul to the devil. People said that he would perform rituals to make himself more powerful, and that he even used dark magic to infuse a soul into his violin so it would sound even more beautiful. People say they saw the devil come out of him and stand next to him when he played. The kicker to this was that he didn't want to be blessed before he died. This was something that was very common back in the day. People wanted a priest to give them some sort of magic so they could go up and hang out with God, but Paganini denied this. Maybe because he knew he was going to hell and it was going to be way cooler and way more fun than going to heaven. Coming in number 5, we have Jimmy Page, once again hitting you with a legendary musician. It would be no surprise that the lead guitarist of Led Zeppelin, one of the greatest rock bands in the world, has suspicions circling around him that he made a deal with the devil. I mean, when rock and roll was coming up, everyone was saying that it was the devil's music. Well, then the devil has great taste, that's all I'm saying. But there's a little more juice to this than Republicans in the 70s being afraid that music was going to bring the end of the world. The thing is, Jimmy was actually a huge fan of the occult and apparently was very open about following the teachings to try and get better at guitar. Hey man, if you're trying to make it to the top, there isn't really anything wrong you can do as long as you're not hurting anyone. Cast a spell from a book to make those fingers move as fast as you can so you're always on the cutting edge of music. And all this came together when apparently you could hear the devil speak when you played Stairway to Heaven backwards. Yeah, I don't think that is true, but people love to think that the devil is hiding in rock and roll. Coming in number 4, we have Snoop Dogg. Yeah, Snoop D-O-double-G. This dude is a legend. Could you imagine you're so much of a legend that you became one of the best rappers of all time? You started popping into movies, you changed your name to Snoop Lion for a bit, you become a commentator for a Mike Tyson fight, and you become best friends with Martha Stewart after she goes to jail. This dude has lived a life that would put most people to shame. Now, how has he been able to be so legendary? Was it skill? Was it luck? Was it coming up with his own language that people would actually learn to speak? Well, no, it was of course a deal with the devil, guys. Apparently in a song, Snoop talks about a voice coming into him and telling him to make a deal, and if he took the deal, he would live eternal and forever. Not a bad deal if you ask me. Coming in number 3, we have Urbain Grandier. It should be no surprise that the church has some weird things going on inside its walls. I mean, we know that it's full of creeps today that are doing horrible things, so someone who worships the devil is kind of small potatoes compared to the other things that are going on. Now, Urbain was ahead of his time when it came to being a horrible person in the church. He was apparently summoning the devil all the time and had magical powers. He would put curses on people he didn't like, and there was even a contract found that was said to be signed by the devil, and it was used against him in court. Could you imagine today, someone finds a fake contract and then they use it against you to put you in prison? Lol, that is great. Coming in number 2, we have Antonio Rose. This case of selling your soul to the devil was so famous that it impacted the culture of witches forever. So Rose was living back in the 1400s, and she wasn't doing well. She was trying to take care of her kid, but her husband had left, so she had to do whatever she could to try and keep this kid alive. Apparently the stress of just trying to stay alive started to wear on her, and she started to indulge in psychedelic drugs that you could rub on your skin. She was seen rubbing it on a broom handle and then riding it like you see witches do in popular culture today. Eventually people started to make claims that she was a witch and working with the devil when she attacked someone who came close to her home. She was arrested and convicted of being a witch and selling her soul to the devil. And coming at the number 1 spot, we have John Moulton. Now this one takes the number 1 spot just because it's funny. Apparently John Moulton was ready to sell his soul to the devil, but he had a plan. See, if you look through the history of the devil, he isn't the hardest dude to outsmart. John made a deal with the Prince of Darkness that he would sell his soul if the devil came and filled his boots with gold. The devil was like, heck yes, but then the devil came to do his job and he found that Moulton had put his boots at the top of a chimney and cut out the bottoms. Basically, if the devil wanted to fill the boots with gold, he would have had to fill the whole chimney. And the devil hates being tricked, so he burned his house down. Basically, it's the same thing when traders on Wall Street bets learn how to make money off of the stock market, and then Robin Hood stopped them from trading because the devil can never lose.